So basically, one thing that is talked about in the class is things like inclusion, of a bunch of stuff, and
Hmm.
you know, TF2 does and doesn't have that. If that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, you can't play as a female character in the game,
No.
but like because it is a class specific game, I almost feel like making a female character if somebody was going to play the game only to play the female character, they had better like that character's role.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you made the sniper female, and you'd get a few people playing sniper who didn't like playing sniper but wanted to be female, and then a few people playing, like playing sniper who actually want to play, sniper.
Hmm.
So I guess the easiest way to put this is like having all of the classes be homogeneous in almost everything except like backstory, general appearance, and loadout is probably for the better.
Yeah. Well, what you could do is like how Titanfall 2
Oh yeah, like
is
the changing the
everything
character.
is oh yeah, everything
Yeah,
is the same class and whatnot. It's just you're able to swap between either a male character or a female character, and everything else is the same.
yeah. I feel
Not
like if
not the voice
TF2
lines, but
Dust Bowl,
oh my
Oh
god.
boy.
I feel like if TF2 implemented that, that may or may not be received well. I'm not 100% sure.
It,
It would be a pretty big change of the game, and there might actually be a
oh, and
lot of cosmetic
also the
bugs.
lore because that there are so many comics out of just
That's
of what the
true.
mercs that are like current what are who are the mercs and like what they are.
It's the kind of thing that I also know. If you just make a class one or the other, like if you have the option to choose um, your gender, and it does affect your player model. Sometimes it lowers the hitboxes
Yeah.
for the female characters, which is kind of stupid in my opinion.
Oh,
Because the thing that I like about Titanfall is it really the male and female models aren't significantly bigger than each other.
yeah, there's not really any different change in
They're they're
TF2 or the other TF2. Yeah,
it
God, this is gonna get confusing.
This is why I say
and
Team Fortress and then
it's only
Titanfall.
yeah, it's only cosmetic really, and I don't think it
Yeah.
affects the hitboxes, which is
No.
I think the proper way to do it because that isn't.
Except for Pyro. Pyro won't change.
Oh, that's true. Because, do we just have snipers who raise up and then one sniper goes away and then yep,
It's the
they
kind of
have
thing
an
that
Hubert
um,
sniper.
God, I'm
the
not in the mood for a sniper right now.
um, it really doesn't change the side of the character, which is kind of important I think for balancing it is more important to have
Did I hit him?
models that are the same size because
I'm a terrible shot.
a lot of
Sorry.
games that have that kind of system, some of them have like the female models are really small
Yeah.
Oh, everyone, we moved to
in
red team.
comparison.
Oh, they all left.
Oh.
Oof.
Why? Huh.
But
I think because we killed them all.
Oh.
it's not
Oh, kill me!
really.
Don't kill me! It's me! It's
I
me!
know it's you. I know it's you.
Oh
Oh,
shit!
just run. Just run.
Uh,
There's a scout after you. I'll shoot him. I'll shoot him.
I'm already dead.
thing
No.
I bet is a thing in Titanfall though is like your hitbox is based on your class kind of thing.
Yeah.
I bet it is like that because Titanfall's hitboxes, all not being perfect, not being that great, are generally okay.
Yeah. TF2 has some interesting hitboxes, but that's also because in Titanfall, I mean, TF2 and Titanfall both have the character silhouette things, which we did talk about in class, actually. Uh,
I would say Team Fortress 2 has some of the most solid hitboxes though of like any game I've played.
yeah.
Just
But I
from
mean,
playing it, you can tell, you know, okay, I hit that shot. That makes sense. Okay, no, I didn't hit that shot. That's
Yeah.
completely, wrong. There are other games which I've played which have significantly worse hitboxes and much worse lag computation.
Old Hans. To bring up Overwatch, old Hansa, where his arrows were the size of tree trunks.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
2 feet away will count as a headshot.
To be fair, though, the huntsman does that, but at least the huntsman makes a little more sense.
The
The
huntsman's
huntsman
also
is
much
more fair though.
slower and
Yeah,
has
it's slower.
much more bullet drop.
Yeah, the huntsman is as much as I hate to say it, it still
Does it have
does
bullet
good.
drop?
Yes, it does. A little bit.
I never noticed.
A little bit. Not terrible, but
Yeah.
it's not like you like if you're shooting a target that's far away, you're going to have to aim up a bit. Otherwise, you're going to body shot, not headshot. You'll still probably hit the shot. Like if you
Nice.
aim at head height, you'll still hit them, but you're not going to hit a headshot.
That's one thing I wish they added. Or one thing I wish they added was damage numbers
You know,
on weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, or just their base damage. It's not
is that
including.
never a thing?
No. It's just what the weapon is. They don't have any base numbers.
Paladins tells you what the damage numbers are. At least it used to.
Which was kind of good to know because the damage thresholds in the game were very specific.
And the thing is about like other weapons, it's just they're all based off stock weapons.
Oh wait, did you
have
leave the match?
Yeah, I changed. I did to a different.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
Because
that's
like
fair.
right now I'm looking at the Bizarre Bargain, base charge rate increased by 50%. So it'll take longer
yeah.
than the base stock
That's
weapon.
that's something that would be nice to know in game,
Yeah,
but it's not something they ever tell you in game. That's kind of that's. I feel
people
like
had
though.
to like do the math on the numbers. To
Yeah,
figure.
but you go on the TF2 wiki is so well like
Yeah.
you can look up every stat of a weapon and get it in 5 seconds, and there you go. It's
Oh,
done.
Pier's gonna be fun.
But
Attack.
you have that's something that would be nice to know. But I feel like this simplistic weapon the system can make it more easy to understand what that means for like a new player. I feel like it's very noob friendly, but it doesn't really tell you the numbers or anything that someone like who's getting into it a little more needs to know, kind of thing. I feel
Yeah.
like that would be like a good comparison would be like if you right click it on it would show you full stats, like or something like that. Just learn more about the weapon stats. That could be a really nice change. Especially stuff like that works the weapons that work very differently than stock, like the loose cannon.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. It's not an intuitive weapon to use by any means.
I don't know, because like one big thing that we talked about in class is hitboxes, because a lot of people were talking about for example, games like Fortnite, where a lot of the characters look the same, and there's a few that look, larger or smaller than others, but in the end, the hitbox is all the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for a game like that, you can't really make hitboxes different, but for TF2, the hitboxes are different because classes have different health, they have different ranges, different
The hitboxes
abilities.
are designed around making actually do play a factor in the balancing of the character. Like if Heavy had Scout's hitbox,
Yeah, it'd be.
that'd be ridiculous. If and there's a skill with Spy's hitboxes never change.
But if you disguise as heavy,
If you disguise as something, people will get confused most of the time. But if you learn where the hitbox approximately is for certain parts of the like if you people can hit good headshots on disguised spies, they know about where the head height actually is on each class. That takes a lot of learning and skill. That's not a
Years and years of playing the game.
I mean, yeah, it's not a easy skill to develop by any means. But hitboxes are like if every character has a theoretically equal playing ground, hitboxes shouldn't change
yeah.
unless they have some other ability that ends up impacting them. But at that point, you're in a class-based system, and you're back out of that. Like there really isn't, I think, a reason from a balancing perspective to give players different hitboxes based on a cosmetic change, not a game balance change.
Yeah. But
unfortunately that can limit character customization. But for balance sake, I think it needs to be. I think a game needs to be balanced because
yeah,
if it's a PvP style game, achieving ideal balance is possible, but getting stuff like that right is really is much more straightforward.
yeah, that's also why I really like how there's certain Halloween only cosmetics that are like really large and obscure hitboxes on TF2 characters.
But
But like for
honestly,
Halloween, it wouldn't really matter too much. You know?
Halloween is designed to not be that balanced. The game, and even the worst of cosmetics don't really make everything unusable. Like the only thing that really requires precise hitbox aiming is headshots.
Yeah,
The only things that are that based are the sniper, and the head hitbox never changes. So you just naturally learn where that is over time, because most of the hats in the game are balanced around not being obscure or not being massive and obscuring like the head.
yeah,
That's not always the case, but for the rest of the other classes, precise aiming isn't that necessary. Just aim for center of mass on literally everything else. Yeah, especially since explosions use a different hitbox. They use a different like box around the character rather than the actual hitboxes.
yeah,
Because like I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know exactly why they do it like that, but basically it gives you a little bit more room for error with projectile weapons.
yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, though.
But yeah, they use like there's a lot of other collision and hitbox things that they have calculated. But ultimately, it really isn't that big of a difference because it's like the exact size of your character, just a box. With a the normal hitboxes, it's a little different.
Yeah. Let me think here. Another thing that because we've been touching on hitboxes. We could probably touch on hitboxes a little bit more here and there because I mean they do play a very important role to a game like TF2. But another thing that we touched up on in the class, I keep forgetting I can't go that way. Another thing that we touched up on in the class and talked a bit about is things like oh my god, I got my pants scared off by a demo man just there. Apologies. Anywho, another thing that we talked about is things like representation of characters and all that. And I feel like TF2 does a decent job of that because they have characters like globally, you know?
Australia, Russia.
Yeah, they've got like Australia, they've got Russia, they have what is it? Scotland. They've got America a couple of times, Germany, France,
I mean,
Texas, which for the sake of this argument I'll consider as its own entity.
Thing about that the character. I mean, they do have characters from all around the world with very different backstories, and that I mean, and every character's backstory is relatively fleshed out. That we know of anyways, except for Pyro, who's designed as a foil to all of this.
Almost comedic relief, even though every character is in their own way comedic relief. To the,
Pyro is from question mark.
Yeah, no one knows Pyro's gender, their age, if they're even human.
Valve themselves has deliberately left confusing hints as to what it is, because there's in the Meet the Pyro video, the scout says I don't know if he's here, but the subtitle says
she's not here, is he? Or he's not here, is she?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, they deliberately don't tell you which is the correct one. They kind of hint at that kind of thing. I mean, and ultimately it doesn't impact the game at all.
No.
Yeah,
it's just
no.
a neat little bit of, maybe Pyro's female, maybe Pyro's male, maybe there's something else. I don't know. It doesn't matter because we don't know, and we're not gonna find out. We can
Forever,
theorize all we
probably.
want, but ultimately it's probably not going to be something that Valve tells us themselves.
Yeah.
It definitely
But
won't be.
I mean, that's the thing that they've decided upon. But every other character, we know where where they're from, some bits about their life, things they like to do. They have a relatively fleshed out backstory. And when you look in the comics, that only gets deeper.
Yeah. And I really do like all the character interactions with each other that they have, because, like, for example, the Demo Man being best friends with the soldier.
That they made an entire update about that.
Mm-hmm.
They were best friends, but the administrator was like, no, you can't be best friends, and then war began over any friendship at all.
I keep thinking that I can put out the fire on an enemy teammate by using my Girardi, and then I remember that only,
Enemy teammate.
Okay, listen, I know that what I just said is conflicting, but still. Also, I really like. This is a very good match, in my opinion, right now, because we have a few people who are on our team who are just kind of admiring the scenery because they've not been on this map before. And I think that's pretty nice.
But what else?
Let's go! Oh my god, that score. Jeez.
GG, everybody.
Dude, I went ham that round. Literally 11 more points than the other second place. And the second place was the medic. Continue.
Go on about like what more there is to talk about briefly, because I want to go to bed soon.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, you can go to bed anytime you want, really.
Yeah, I just want to maybe do a little more.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that I like, because I feel like TF2 really benefits from Flanderization, which, in a lot of regards and a lot of topics are... Flanderization is a term coined by the Simpsons, actually, for their character Flander. And it basically means that a character has gone from, like, being a well-rounded character to being a very straightforward, flat character, right?
Okay.
You can almost say the same thing about Homer, but that's
Yeah.
a discussion.
The reason that they call it Flanderization is because Flanders used to actually be well-rounded, and then suddenly became like only about religion and stuff like that. A very good example of Flanderization in TF2 is actually the soldier, because he used to be. There's like video documentaries and all that other stuff. But it used to be a thing where, he was more well-rounded than just being an insane dude who liked to teleport bread and explosives, But throughout the updates, he just kind of slowly became more and more of a...
About him, anyways. We learned a little bit more about him.
Yeah, we learned more about him. And he just kind of became a very single-track, he is this, he is crazy, all that other stuff. That was a nice shot by that other sniper.
The other thing I think that what helps TF2 though is also that the characters have relatively simple backstories, but even though they're fleshed out, they're not like missing most of the time, other than Pyro, which is the entire point of Pyro.
Pyro's the one
relatively
outlier
simple.
in this situation.
They're relatively simple. You understand why a character is like the way they are based on some of their backstories relatively easily. It's not a complex, deep backstory.
Watch out, there's a spy behind you.
Not to say that there's anything wrong with it, but it makes characters more easily understandable by a new player.
Oh, he's so low.
Like if the Meet the Team videos are really good for fleshing out the personality and backstory of each character.
And also the comic.
Yeah, and the comics, but the comics take a little bit more time to read than one 5-minute video. The Demo Man, you learn he likes explosives, and entire character is that he's drunken.
The drunkest character in the entire game.
Yes, so actually, in lore, he produces alcohol from his liver, which is an interesting thing to think about. The sniper, he's just getting paid. That's it.
Yeah, his whole motivation is just he's a hitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, probably the second smartest character. Out of the mercs, following the engineer.
Yeah, because I mean the medic is smart, but the medic is also like actually clinically insane.
Yeah.
A little more than clinically, honestly.
Look, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you have you learn a little bit about the backstory and personality of each character in the Meet the Team videos, which for a new player can really draw people to a class about, because not only do you see their character backstory and personality, you actually get to learn about what their actual role is in the game relatively easily. Scout, you run fast, you shoot a shotgun. Soldier, there's obviously inaccuracies for the sake of making the video better, but the basic idea is still there. Soldier, you shoot rockets,
Mm-hmm.
you jump around.
Like
you
rocket
literally
jumping.
have rocket jumping is in the video.
Yeah.
Hold M1 and press W because you are a filthy degenerate. Demo Man, you see him using pipes to kill, a couple individual players, and you see sticky traps.
You also see the fact that his grenades can deflect off barriers.
Yeah, you see that they can bounce and roll. Heavy shoot.
Heavy gun,
Yeah.
big gun. Heavy is heavy. Also,
Also,
the strongest character.
yeah, and it's funny because you think when Heavy is probably at first glance the flattest, most boring character. He's one of the smartest mercs actually because he has a PhD.
Yeah, he's got a PhD in Russian literature.
Yeah, and like with Russian literature rather, like he's not dumb by any stretch of the
Yeah,
imagination.
no, and it even shows like the humanity behind the character whenever he mentions that some people think that they can outsmart him, and he's kind of offended by that.
Yeah,
But you don't
and also
really-
in the comics where he shows to be actually really loving, because he's providing for his like mother and his sisters and whatnot.
Yeah, by killing bears, but
Do what?
kill bears.
Yeah, he fist fight giant Siberian bears just to feed his family.
Yeah, I mean, the comics end up providing a lot more of character development than we get in the little bits of hints and backstory from the other characters. But like the engineer, the sentry gun, he's very smart.
Yeah,
The only other you don't really learn too much about how an engineer actually plays in the game because you put 4 sentry guns in that video and nothing else. Where's your dispenser? Despite Medic being the character, and honestly, you could actually talk about this a lot, where a lot of the characters at first glance appear to be exactly what you'd expect out of them, as being something very flat, and something you wouldn't expect, kind of thing. But they have more than they kind of meets the eye kind of thing. Like Medic, you expect to be a pretty generic support character. Mercy is the textbook example of a generic support character.
yeah,
Character
Like,
where
I am going
the medic
to
has
heal other
several
people.
alternative motives.
Yeah, like
Where he
like-
made a deal with the fucking devil, and
Yeah.
he combined several souls to his body. So
Yes.
where if he died, he could just use up one of those souls.
He literally did die.
Yeah, he did die. I mean, yeah.
He sacrificed himself for the team and then came back anyways because he had he stole their souls. But anyways, like when you pick a medic, you'd expect kind of you heal people, you support the team, and medic plays like that in game, sure. But in the lore and in the video, the Meet the Medic video, you see that he does not act like a normal doctor.
no,
He is clinically insane. He treats his patients like science experiments more than people. However, he still cares about the other mercenaries and consider them his friends.
Okay.
And because, but at the same time, he he does care about advancing his progress. He's not endangering them when he doesn't. Like when he puts the mega baboon part in the heavy.
He's only improving though.
Yeah, he only improved the heavy. He didn't really like make him a freak or anything. I think it's kind of
He made him stronger and was able to hold the power of the Uber.
Yeah, but a lot of the characters, have a bit more depth to them. But at first glance, they're very simple because that makes it easy to understand.
Yeah.
And because mechanically most of the classes are relatively simple too, but often they have lots more things you can learn, like rock jumping, safety jumping, but even things as fundamental as air strafing, and in general movement as a whole is a lot more skill based and takes a lot of time to learn, even if it
like,
isn't.
What are you trimping?
I mean,
the demo?
Yeah, the trimp jumps.
That can be considered an mechanic kind of thing, but it's not. It's one of those things where I'm talking about the base kit of a class.
Yeah.
Is relatively simple and it's relatively easy to learn, and that's kind of I think the approach that Valve took is that every class should be relatively easy to understand, but have a lot of depth to them in terms of both their character one as well as their overall abilities that they can do. There's a lot more to learn about them other than their basic abilities, but their basic abilities aren't hard to use.
Yeah. There's one thing though that I would like to touch on regarding the different characters and stuff that I actually really like about TF2. And that is that it takes things like your expectations for different stereotypes and stuff, and it just kind of throws them on their head a good bit, right? Because I mean, like every single character is like not at all what you expect from either their nationality, their occupation, I mean, with some exception. I mean, I suppose most of their occupations is pretty clear cut and straightforward. The sniper snipes people, the engineer builds things, and the scout moves fast and likes baseball. Baseball's not really. I feel like the scout is actually the only one that fits like every stereotype about where he's from, because he's from Boston, and the only thing that he talks about is baseball and the like.
And the reason why he runs so fast is because he has 8 older brothers that chased him nonstop.
Yeah.
So he had to,
he had to learn how to
just keep running. He had to pull a force.
But I really like it though because the heavy is Russian, and there's a bunch of stereotypes about Russians being not very intelligent, which is kind of unfortunate because Russians actually make a lot of really cool things that are made in their country, And I mean, there's even that engineer dude who makes stuff, who I sent you with the hydrogen reactor and all that. Dude's great.
Very unsafe.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I never said that what he was doing was safe for him, but it is still like cutting edge for being built in a garage.
Yeah, a lot of the characters that at first seem to be very one-dimensional end up having more depth to them, which is, generally speaking, a pretty good way to write a character. If you're trying to make them, if you want to have a bit of a twist to their story. But then again, a lot of the twists aren't for bait, which ends up meaning that they're not, like, it doesn't get really annoying or boring when just some random character has some massive plot thing that we didn't see coming. It's minor things that add character depth. What would otherwise be flat, boring characters.
Yeah.
If the heavy was literally a personification of a machine gun, it would be very boring. But it would be kind of fun to see play him because it's just gun over. And if medic was very generically, I'm going to heal you, friend.
Yeah.
You can talk about there's a video essay I saw from someone that it ended up talking a bit about game balance as well, and the way they felt to play, but about why people hate Mercy but love the medic.
Yes, I actually did see that.
She had a she had a lot of good points about that in the video that she was making about it, but it ended up boiling down to be that Mercy isn't interesting in mechanics or the fact that her character is very generic.
Yeah,
It's just, I'm going to heal you, friend. I mean, honestly, if if anything, Mercy conforms to the stereotypical support more than any other character in that game.
Yeah, actually.
Like, it, for a game that prides itself on its representation of people, Mercy's probably one of the worst representations of a support character I've ever seen.
That's yeah.
Unbelievably generic.
See,
Granted,
better-
there's a lot more characters in Overwatch beyond that, and I don't think Overwatch has any big problems with it. But the fact is that Mercy is very generic in comparison to Medic.
Yeah. There was another thing actually that I don't know why I just started thinking about this, but it was regarding being generic because we were talking about Fallout 3, right? And we were talking about what is it called? In Fallout 3, we were specifically talking about like what was it? Character customization, right? And how like default, character models in Fallout 3 were a little weird. Now, granted, Fallout 3 did not have a very powerful engine at the time. It couldn't really support
That's true.
very diverse character models, but the argument was made in the book we were reading, the Gamer Trouble book by Amanda Phillips. I feel like I have to put that in there just as a source, if that makes any sense. But the point was made within the book that characters looking a certain way, like as a preset, if that makes sense, was like kind of fringe, a little, weird and suspect, because that would imply, as the book had put it, it would imply that people of that ethnicity or that area were supposed to defaultly look like that. In reality, it was just meant to be, a preview menu of, hey, here's something you can do, you don't have to, that kind of thing.
For instance, I think a really good point is Skyrim, a game with a much more powerful engine. Obviously, a game that came out about a decade later, about almost, maybe like 8 years. I don't remember when Fallout 3 came out. Maybe 2003 or something.
something like that.
It took it and Skyrim came out in 2011, so it came out 8 years later. It came out with a lot more powerful engine, a lot more character customization options.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to for something like in that game, you need to know what the presets are a lot more than you do in Fallout 3. Because the only race in Fallout 3 is human.
Yeah.
You can only be a human in Fallout 3. That's the only character that fits in the setting in the world that they've created. There aren't other races beyond that kind of thing. There aren't elves, or it doesn't make sense to have a character like that. In Skyrim, as well as any of the other, Elder Scrolls games before it, there are, I think, 10 races or something of various, fantasy characters. There's the elves, there's the cat people, there's Ronians, lizard folk. If you've never played, a game like this before, where you don't have any notion of what those characters are going to look like in your head, being able to look at the various options you have at a glance is really helpful if you don't know what race you want to go.
Yes.
It's your first time going through a thing. Those kind of presets are super helpful to learn about what various features they might have. And one of them that I remember specifically is that for the Dunmer specifically, which are called the Dark Elves in the game, they have war paints and tattoos that they often wear as part of their culture. and you can see a lot of those things very quickly because they make sure to have a lot of different types of those in the presets to identify them. Um, it's not just something that's thrown on top of them and says, "Oh, here you go. You can also do that." You actually get to see it right away, and then you can further customize it from there. Presets also help with another really simple thing: is if you like, if you really like a preset, you're like, okay, this looks perfect. I want to, maybe change a few things with it, and then it ends up giving you a point to start with character design. It doesn't give you a completely blank slate because people generally don't work super well in that kind of condition, in my opinion. It's like if you just said make your character and you put a blank face on the screen, people would be a lot
Yeah.
they wouldn't enjoy the process as much because they wouldn't really get to see that progression as easily. It'd be more confusing also as well for the player to understand what's going on, and what they're actually changing with each preset does help. Like if you want to change your eye shape,
Yeah.
like a lot of the changes are really subtle. So you have being able to see what a couple of the options are at the beginning, and then see how those change as you further customize your character. That's just kind of the thing. It doesn't really. I mean, honestly, it's a miracle that even Fallout 3 can even handle character customization as well as it did, because that engine is held together by popsicle sticks and glue.
If even that.
But yeah, it's. I mean, you can there's a lot of eccentric designs you can do in Fallout 3. You can kind of give your character any number of natural, hair color that most humans don't have.
Yeah.
Things like blue or green, purple, like that's not a natural hair color, but you can have that if you want.
Yeah.
And lore wise, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because having lots and lots of dye for paint doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To have in the vaults, but they still let you do it. They don't eliminate that possibility and try to alienate players. They give it to them as an option.
Yeah. But like the thing with the main reason I brought up character customization is like TF2 is an interesting way of doing it because it technically has the whole like the thing that I wanted to bring up is like when people say, oh, the default, character customization, it's not too good, like that would imply that every character that is made without character customization is also meant to be viewed that way and is, not positive or whatever you want to say. So with TF2's customization,
I think one thing before I say that is that being able to create your own character lets you create your own story, and that's very important in RPGs.
yes,
Is to build your own story and character. Like, I've used Skyrim before, but the Skyrim begins with with a very ambiguous backstory for your character.
mm-hmm.
All you know is that you were taken prisoner because you're trying to cross the border. Anything else is up to you to come up with. Fallout 3 isn't the best example of create your own backstory, but it lets you create your own stories in the game. Your own way of playing. You can choose to be a thief and steal everyone's caps and become a ruthless, criminal. Or you can just help everyone and be nice if you want. You create your own story in the RPG. Being able to choose who you are fundamentally, but your appearance, your race, everything like that, definitely helps with that.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a much more focused story, where you might not choose that type of path. But it allows the people designing the game to say what they want in the story much more clearly. It's not to say that character customization inherently changes any of that. Like in a game basically like COD or something, where there's just story campaign. If you were allowed to customize your character, it wouldn't make a lot of difference with what ends up happening in the story.
Yeah.
But not to say that can't be helpful, but when you kind of narrow it down to a specific character, you can write a lot more about that character and have a more concrete story for them. It it's really different approaches. It doesn't really, neither of them is truly better. I think that makes any sense. But for something like TF2, bring it back to that. It's the character customization of TF2 is just wear hats and beards and any number of little wacky clothing items that you want to put on your body. It doesn't end up fundamentally changing the characters, though.
No.
It's just you're putting on a silly hat because you think it looks nice.
Yeah, but like that's what I like is that like it kind of removes the whole idea of a default character, especially with things like, I mean, yeah, the characters that you have aren't default, they're one singular model, but in Fallout 3's case, that's every character was literally the same mesh, just with slightly different values applied here and there for customization.
And I bet that's how it works for most of the game, most of the similar stuff.
Yeah.
RPGs, is because it doesn't make any sense to make a bunch of extra models for it. If you make a default model that you apply textures to and data about, it makes more sense because it's more concise from a coding perspective.
Yeah.
You have a list of things of attributes that apply to your character, and it works probably the same way as a codification. It's a statistic on your character about how well some people in the game like you. If you choose to kill a bunch of their friends, they're not going to like you. If you choose to help them, they're going to like you. Stuff like that. It's very simple data applied to your character. From a coding perspective, ends up being easier to do.
Yeah.
TF2 doesn't really have that because if we're able to customize your character in TF2 fully, like change the model size, all that stuff, it would end up being a lot more confusing of a game to play.
There'd be almost no game balance because the hitboxes would be screwed up.
Even if they'd have to either limit it to the point where it would be very little customization at all, or have complete and total anarchy.
Yeah. Now, shoot, I had just thought of something that was interesting. Oh yeah, community. I wanted to bring up at some point, if that's all right with y'all, the fact that most items in TF2, at this point at least, not always, but now most items in TF2 are actually community made.
Yes.
A lot of the new items are community made. A lot of the maps are community made. The community has a huge say in what ends up getting into the game, and Valve has always been a very good supporter of community content.
Yeah.
And allowing people to add stuff into the game, and it's great for Valve because they don't have to do nearly as much work.
Yeah, it definitely.
It's also good because it encourages people who are probably even though the Valve programmers are very, very experienced with the game and how it plays and stuff. That's not always true for all the developers. Not all developers.
Yes.
And the fact is that that's their job, and they probably have other things to do. When people can play it a lot and get, I don't know how many hours he has, but I know one of the top competitive players in the world has like 20,000 hours. He definitely understands the balance and the gameplay more than the devs do.
Yes.
Played it more. Not to say that the devs don't play their own game, but they can't really play the game if they're doing their job.
Yeah, but they can't play the game when they're fixing the game.
Yeah, if you're making models, you're designing maps, all that stuff, you can't be actively playing the game. So you get a different mix of perspectives here. And when you have the community-made content, you actually get what people have made and what they like, being put in the game. Now, that's to say that they have to definitely filter that, because some people will make stuff that isn't very good, incomplete, or just doesn't fit the game at all.
Yeah.
If there's anything that is, just outright bad, stuff like that definitely shouldn't be put into the game. But
Yeah.
it makes it easier on Valve, and it allows people in the community to actually participate in the development of the game, which I think is a very cool opportunity that you don't really see in a lot of games at all. Most of the time, the devs just do everything, and the community is left saying, you know, well, what did we, that they don't really listen to us at all. And sure, that's a fair argument for TF2. The devs aren't very well communicating, but they definitely do understand that the community is able to build and create stuff that would be good in the game.
Yeah, and I mean another thing too is like, we've got 3 snipers. We are on.
Yeah, I had to swap off.
We're on defense, correct? I'm gonna go demo because I like my muscular demo man.
Yeah, this is the true male fantasy where you can equip, 2 explosive launchers and just have bare chest and go out in a blaze of glory.
I'm gonna be honest. The fact that they added just the bare chest for like the demo man is probably one of my favorite features because I love this thing.
And one of the things that I've always heard as an argument about these kind of games is that, oh, you're sexualizing the female characters.
Well, the thing is, you can't do that here.
You can literally say that. You can't do that here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. As ironic as it is to say, you can't over-sexualize characters that don't exist. I mean, you could try, I'm sure.
You can. I mean, to be honest, they let you over-sexualize the TF2 mercs, but it's not in a way that is that bad. That the worst is the medic having a chest.
Okay, the medics is a little spooky to see, not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I mean, all it is you just see his chest. That's it. You don't see anything else. Not naked.
Yeah.
And he's not like those female armor sets in games, which are literally just a mixed. Like, this is not armor. What are you talking about?
Yeah, those are. I really don't like those, and I feel like the thing that I like about TF2 is it doesn't really fall into a game type where that can be
Even possible.
because those are usually associated more closely to things like MMOs, or like certain RPGs. It's almost always the fantasy genre too.
Yeah. JRPGs.
Yeah.
The thing is also, I have actually done a little bit of video, like learning into this beyond that. And actually, in medieval armor, this would be mildly inappropriate. I mean, this is kind of inappropriate to talk about, but it's what they did. They made bulges for the guys.
Yes, they did.
That is a historical fact. And if women had a much larger percentage of people that like wearing armor and using armor, which wasn't the case due to the culture of the medieval age.
Yes.
I mean, there were some, and there were some very notable ones, but they weren't the primary people who fought in battle. In
Yes.
blood suits of armor. There were definitely some. Joan of Arc is a very notable exception, but that wasn't the primary people who did that. But it's reasonable to assume that they would have done that in some capacity, because if they were people who used a lot of, like, we know the men cared a lot about showing off what they had to offer. If women were in the same position, they probably would do the same thing.
I mean, it's not only a thing of like showing off. It's like if you're gonna be in that armor for a really long time, because that stuff does not take like a second or two to put on or off. It takes a while. You know what I mean? And often it requires like people to help you put it on.
Generally speaking, I think most plate armor fit basically everyone who's about that size and, like, height and weight kind of size range, regardless.
Yeah.
Of female. But
It still took people to put it on. And you need to be comfortable for
yeah,
however
it's
long
not
you
to
have
say
to wear it.
I don't think that it would be unreasonable to assume that boob armor wouldn't be a thing, because if they made bulge armor, they're making boob armor.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, but yeah, no, it makes sense though, because like you want armor that fits to you in a way that doesn't cause pain or irritation. Doesn't mess you up, doesn't inhibit movement.
Most pretty bad.
Oh wait,
Because it was heavy.
well, some did not. There's actually been a lot of studies showing that medieval plate mail is like one of the most flexible armors ever made, besides the modern era armor.
Yeah, to be fair though, that relatively speaking, medieval plate armor is very low armor compared to anything now.
Oh, for sure, but yeah, to kind of to bring it back, I guess. What is it? There's like there's just a lot of interesting things about TF2 that I like that don't really that a lot of other games don't have, if that makes any sense.
I mean, it pretty much created the genre of hero shooter.
This is true. This is true.
No other game really existed before it that had done the same type of mechanics as TF2 had. And certainly it definitely revolutionized that kind of thing when Overwatch came out and was directly inspired by TF2, quote Jeff Kaplan,
That's true. That's true.
who was the head designer for it anyways.
Yeah.
And, you know, other clones and stuff existed of TF2, but it definitely created their, I mean, even things like Siege, which is, you know, a lot more tactical and a lot more, very different, is by definition shooting. I mean, I don't think that really existed till before TF2.
Yeah.
And
No.
honestly, TF2 is still a middle ground between those kind of games. If you look at Overwatch, every ability is very simple, and there is not a lot of skill input to do them. Like
Some
Pharah
of
is a
them.
great. I mean, like think about Pharah, right? You just fly. Farah,
Yeah.
whatever I pronounce it. Whereas TF2, to do the same, you need to one, cost some of your health and ammo. Look down, crouch jump at the and shoot at the perfect angle.
Yeah. And it's
You don't just hit
definitely
whatever the button is.
it's also different to Overwatch in regard that Overwatch you do not have customization at all.
Yeah.
Like the
But
only
then it has a
customization
lot
you
of
have
Yeah.
is like
customization, but I mean that's not
Yeah.
that's not it. I think that's
I mean you have
games that have that.
yeah, but I mean like you have skins, but in comparison to TF2's version of it, it's a lot more of the what is it called?
You don't have anything that affects your gameplay.
No. Yeah, every
Yeah, no.
But I
every
would say
character's gonna be the same.
I'd
Or
say
not every
Paladins is a
character,
really good middle ground between them because it has the same kind of ability and skills and stuff, but you actually can change how the game plays with your loadout before you enter the map. You can't change mid-match, which definitely does limit you, what you can see what the enemy players are and then change your loadout basically.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the match, you can also buy items which actually impact each game. So each game is not nearly as static in what people can do. And you are able to react on the fly to what other players' loadouts are doing. Like if you have 3 people that can stun you on the enemy team, you can pick up stun block, or stun resistance.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of tanks on the enemy team, you can buy, get a shield breaker item. If you have a lot of healers, you can buy a anti-healing item. Like you can actually change that, which I think is a really cool thing for balance. Paladins is not great on the whole, not sexualizing characters thing, but basically they have a fetish for basically everyone. So, I mean, that's fair, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I like about TF2 is you have character customization. You don't have crazy character customization. It's not like
No.
I can't make this character look exactly like me. But I mean, you do have customization in the way of I want this character to look in this specific way, or vice versa.
And I don't think they really should for being identified what a class is.
Yeah, no, because like there's definitely a fine line between like character customization in a single player game and character customization in a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Because in a single player game, you can look like whatever you want, and Fallout 4 is a grand example of that. Because
I'd say it's not necessarily single player, it's PvE or PvP.
Yes, because if you're playing against just AI, And a good indie game, in my opinion, for this is Mass Builder, provided that you only care about building mech robots and don't care about the extremely weird anime girls that have been thrust in for absolutely no purpose besides story. But that's a tangent for later. But it is a currently PvE only game, and you can make your thing glowing neon pink, which, you know, kind of hurts the eyes. But I mean, things like TF2, you need to be able to identify what class you're playing. You need to be able to identify what class they're playing, what classes you have on your team. If it's something like, for example, Fortnite, you need to be able to hit everyone with the same. There's a sniper in a tree. There's two.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Or they're getting the high ground.
But for things like, single player games, you can definitely have a lot of customization. But for things like, again, as you said, PvP versus PvE, because I mean, Fallout 76 has PvP. You can still make your character look ridiculous, but at the end of the day, you'll still have the same hitbox. And you don't really have any class-based things in 76 that would be visible.
But yeah, it's also, it's not only that, is that there's a lot more options that end up impacting that. Like, in a game where, like, I mean, you can have literally true invisibility with stealthiness, right? And you can be massive in power armor and, wreck people. It's not really a PvP game, though.
It's PvE with PvP features.
Yeah, it's...
If that
PvP
makes sense.
elements.
Yeah, and it isn't going to be, the effect of a character's, model differences aren't going to be that big of a difference, because people aren't very stealthy in this game most of the time. They'll be sneaking around, but, if it's in broad daylight, you're still going to probably see them. If they engage in combat, you're going to hear them, most likely, or hear what they're fighting. Especially if they're using anything that's not a stealth build. So it's less... There's other ways to identify where the players are, and the general range that you can fight in the game is a lot longer than some of the two. I mean, I guess it just doesn't matter as much, I feel, in 76 or something like that. It doesn't matter like what your skin is, or rather what your, I say skin, but what your appearance is in the game.
Yeah, and like I don't know, because there's another, like, again, jumping back to, like, character backstories and subverting expectations, all of this stuff, and still talking about skin designs and customization. They have a lot of customization in TF2 that's like relative to what the character is, where they're from. I mean, there's almost every item, be it from the area or named after the area, has something to do with the character. Like the Down Under Duster for the, sniper, because he's from the land down under, Australia.
Pretty sure there's also, like, for, like, demo, there's, like, traditional Scottish wear,
Yes.
like, as
Yes.
options for you to wear in the game. I don't remember what. I mean, there's definitely others, and there's a lot more of other things that are, just kind of named Scottish stuff because fit the character more. But like, I'm pretty sure there's stuff that's inspired from real world Scottish, dress. That is into the game. But there is stuff that is exclusive to the kind of character's backstory and stuff that makes sense within the character. If you want. And even like you can make loadouts that have themes around them. Like I have my stepdad heavy.
Yeah, and I have my hitman sniper that actually just uses P. Lamau. Haha. Very.
Nothing's more infuriating and sad when you get stunned and then die by someone. do this with a knife.
Yeah.
That's the lore behind that. But like I mean, like the stepdad. I just said it that I just say it that because he just looks like a stepdad who's trying his best for his new family. He's not really sure what's going on because he's just wearing like a hoodie and like jean shorts, and it's really awkward. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of do that, but you can't really make near the level of story that you can in RPG. And I would argue for something that's not a precise game, having different hitboxes and stuff like that is less important. Like an MMO where targeting is where you like target enemy players.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter what your model or hitbox actually is. If stuff always hits. Like if someone is targeting you and they have line of sight of you, you know, you can say there's a slight advantage to choosing a smaller character model, and maybe there is, but don't play that sweaty.
But on the all, first and third person shooters kind of all have the same,
relative size of characters.
Relative.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless they're a hero-based thing where they have sizes. Their hitbox is part of the balancing, which is a thing you can do.
And that's another thing that we talked about in class. We talked about the whole thing of as the way that they put it in class, and the only reason I say that is because I kind of feel it's a bit disingenuous to put it this way, but we talked about healers and why a lot of times healers are smaller than the rest of the characters, right?
Used to be the case, but
and a lot of they were saying that it's because people expect that to be a female job and expect people to be small and effeminate and all that other stuff. And I mean, they even brought up the medic. They even brought up the medic from TF2 here, saying that he's small, but I mean the scout is smaller than the medic.
Yeah, he's very tall.
The engineer still being the shortest character.
Well, yeah, the engineer is the shortest character, but I mean, like, model-wise, the scout is the smallest, and that's a game balancing thing.
Medic is the tallest character.
He is.
No, Heavy's pretty tall. Heavy's tallest in the lore.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't remember the exact height. Thing is, though, it is based on balance. If a character who was a healer was extremely large in their model,
they would have to have a large health pool.
They would have to be a tank.
Yes, they'd have to be like a healing tank
because they have bigger hitboxes.
Yes.
And another thing like that, the reason the heavy is so large, especially in this game, is because the team is meant to stand behind him.
He is literally designed to be a tank.
The sniper is thin and nimble because he is meant to
Most of the characters' models are like everyone is basically around the same size, with some of them being slightly larger or smaller. But Heavy is just so much bigger because he's literally designed to be a tank. He has more health than everyone else by a lot.
And the scout is really small because he's meant to be a scout. He's meant to be hard to see, hard to notice, nimble,
it's
quick on the feet.
It's not purely like if you make a character that's that is designed to Mercy is an excellent example of that exact stereotype, and that's not something that's really a bad thing to have.
What just happened?
I don't know, but I watched it. It was funny.
It's just that is exactly what kind of a character she is written as and plays as. She's just I heal you because I am a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, is the exact stereotype they're talking about. But TF2 doesn't really do that. The medic is not... Medic by far is not the smallest character. He's not the biggest character in the game.
He's kind of a medium size because the medic in this game is also not just strictly a medic. He's a support role. And you can argue that all the support roles in the game are, kind of spindly a little bit. But that's also because they're meant to be harder to hit. They're not meant to be full-on damage dealers. They're meant to
Everyone
be
else has
back
normal
lines.
proportions, and heavy is big.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for example, the sniper is not meant to be in CQC. I mean, I'm playing him in
No.
CQC right now, but that's because I'm a
The
lunatic.
sniper and the spy and the medic are designed for non-CQC. They're designed to be behind. Well, the spy is designed to be behind the enemies
Yeah,
and picking them off one by one most of the time, maybe getting a few stabs in a row. But you're not
Chain
really
stabbing.
you're not really meant to be in the main fight
No.
very much. You're designed to get in, get out kind of class. You're
I think
not
TF2
designed-
just crashed.
My game did crash.
Spy is not designed to have that much
Huh.
stuff going on with them.
Let me boot it up real
Sniper
quick.
is meant to be way behind the front lines.
Yeah, he's meant to be way back there.
Medic is designed to be at the front lines, but behind his team.
Yes.
He's
One
not
second.
meant to be a. And you can see that, like, he has one of the. Actually, I think he has one of the bigger models. Because
Yeah, no, like Medic
Isn't it,
does
like,
definitely have
I think okay, I think
decently
it's
sized model.
I think it's heavy, soldier or demo, and then like medic.
Well, Pyro's actually pretty big.
Okay. Yeah, pyro. So maybe medic's like fifth biggest, but he's not like.
He's not the smallest, no.
Yeah, and every one of the major up close and personal combat classes makes more sense to be in the front lines than him.
Yeah.
But even so, medic's HP being at 150 means that if he had a really small model, he'd be impossible to kill.
Mm-hmm. Especially because the medic
Like, if he-
regens health.
Yeah, the regen and like I think it's a really good balance of making him like a medium size and medium health, giving him that longevity with the regen.
And another
ends up
thing,
making him
uh,
actually play with the team and not away from the team.
one thing that I really like actually about TF2 is that like the roles are labeled, but if you really get down to it with like loadout and all that, they're kind of just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Like you can play sniper the way sniper is meant to be played, or you can equip the what is it, the bushwhacker and the Girardi and just obliterate one person in CQC.
yeah, you
can
That's,
you can even be a sniper with a spy. You can be a battle medic. You can be a offensive defensive character, or a defensive offensive character.
yeah. I honestly think the default class descriptions, offense, defense, and support, are incorrect as far as the meta of the game now.
Yeah,
Back in 2007, that was more appropriate and accurate. But it's really there is three class archetypes that are much different, in my opinion. And I've seen like a pie chart of them. It's like pick, power, and support. Pick classes are designed to pick up kills on specific targets, like sniper and spy, basically. I think scout is in part of that, but is also part of another group. I think. Power classes are your bulky combat classes that do lots of damage and can take a hit. Demo man,
Yeah.
heavy soldier, and pyro's kind of in there as well. Pyro suffers from lack of range. Finally, it's support, which is definitively medic
Swabby.
and
Yeah.
maybe bits of pyro and engineer. Because engineer is not a combat class. Not meant to be a direct combat class.
yeah, no. But I mean, you can make loadouts that make him,
But you can play like that with the gunslinger, and it's very viable to do so.
and the Frontier Justice.
I mean, you don't have to use the Frontier Justice.
You don't have to, but it is good for.
Yeah. Stock Shoddy though has always been a favorite of mine for gunslinger.
Yeah, I like it because then you can
Panic.
set your mini sentry up, and whenever it dies, you just get crits.
Yeah. Personally, I find Jag is super good with Frontier Justice because
Oh yeah, because you can rapidly rebuild.
yeah, you can rapidly rebuild a level 2 sentry and get 3 kills, and then just leave your gun somewhere.
Yeah,
And then it gets 2 more kills, and you're like, I have now 10 crits. And what did I do? I have no idea.
it's really the thing that I really do like about this game though is that like I mean yeah you'll find a few bad apples in the community but like overall the community's really supportive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely do have. There are definitely a lot of bad people in the community, but to say that a community doesn't have bad people in it is, in my opinion, it's well, it's dishonest and dangerous to claim that oh we don't have bad people in our community.
Yeah, it's
It's
you're
it
always there's always going to be bad people in a community.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially with a community as large as TF2, sometimes it can seem like there's a lot of people who are in that boat. But I mean, it's one of the most popular games on Steam,
yeah, and I mean,
and
in my opinion, for good
it,
reason.
there's
Uh,
a well-known thing in psychology where people tend to remember the bad experiences far more than the good
than the good
experiences.
experiences. Yep.
That that is basic psychology. It's put in there by our brains because it ended up being a useful survival instinct. Because if you assume everything's about to kill you, if something does try to kill you, you'll be a little bit more prepared than if you don't assume things are trying to kill you. It's just in our nature to think like that, and it ends up being a very prevalent thing that is well known in psychology, and ends up being that way. So if you have one bad experience out of 5 games, like, oh, this community is so terrible, you're probably more likely to think that. It's not. It's and also humans are very bad at interpreting data and statistics because we like to think about them emotionally.
Yeah.
We don't think about math logically. We think about it emotionally. Taking like any statistic about a game's community and number of things that have happened, it's just not fair to generalize because your brain isn't being objective in that manner. It's just not. So, going, with stuff like that, it's, you know,
Yeah.
you'll always get people who are, mad and angry and spiteful to the world, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'll take it out on people in a video game. And in my opinion, though, I would rather have people take out their anger in a video game with strangers where it doesn't mean anything than be abusive to the people around them. That's not to say that cyberbullying can't be awful, but
Yeah.
it's I would rather have people take out their anger in a more healthy way, in a way where they can't actively hurt people with violence, in person, rather than do stuff like that. But you know, it's not a there's no ideal solution to this. You can't just say a binary state of game bad because there's bad people.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess the entire world is bad, and we must nuke ourselves and obliterate ourselves from existence.
Good Risk of Rain reference though. But yeah, no, like it's. I mean, right now, for example, I am streaming, so I'm not sure if you're watching, but right now we're in a match. Oh, hey,
You're not
Logan,
streaming.
Logan, turn around. Logan, come back.
You aren't actually able to stream it. You're not
Look,
streaming right
look,
You're
now.
not
look up.
streaming.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, look up here.
I see that.
Yeah, this is where I hide in this room. But yeah, we're on a match right now. I didn't realize. Oh yeah, because it crashed. Like, it's a CTF match. On the snowy map, the new one,
Mhm.
and almost everyone on both teams just like conging, and then people like literally take the intelligence and just move it from one side to the other and back. And I think they're having a competition on who's a spy over here. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're just straight up killing each other on this side of the field. Cool.
For every match where you have really annoying players who are mean and nasty to each other, there's another match that you can go into and hop into where everyone is really nice, everyone plays well together, and it's great. And on those rare occasions, you'll also find the server where everyone is just chilling out. And like, I had a match with Bree, where all we did was we just went on the rocks in Hightower and we just taunted on each other, and the entire server got involved. And and it was great because there was just random people having fun. I had a spy sit next to me in a chair, reading or actually he was sipping some coffee, reading a book, and he was named engineer, but he was actually a spy. I have I have countless memories of people jumping and making towers of both both teams of players making a tower of characters and seeing how high they can get.
Can you
Yeah.
go tap that sentry? I'll backstab the heavy.
The sentry?
Yeah, there's a sentry over there on the other side of the.
Oh,
the
yeah,
wood
yeah,
pile.
yeah. Do you want me to tap the teleporter first so that they run to that?
No. Go. Oh, yeah, do that.
It ends up being, though, also that a lot of the more public examples of toxicity
Go.
end up coming from the competitive scene because those players are a lot more well known, and anything that they do is going to come under a lot more scrutiny than anything else, which ends up getting the comp community a little bit of a bad rep. But to be honest, the comp community consists of more hardcore competitive players, and those kind of attitudes of toxicity can be a little bit more prevalent in those kind of things. Not to say that it always is, because a lot of
Yeah.
comp players just play because they like to play the game at a higher level. But it's not to say that, I feel like it ends up being that competitive games attract the kind of people who can be who can be toxic more so than casual games do.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It definitely does. I feel really bad for this engineer right now.
It's one of those things, though, also about in TF2. Most of the time, I don't feel bad about losing.
Yeah, no, me neither. And I mean,
Most
there are a lot of times where like you can lose the game, and the enemy team is not going to be like, oh, haha, this, that, the other. I mean, you can like conga or do the Kazatsuki kick, and sometimes people on the enemy team just join you.
Yeah.
Like, good game, brother, and glad it's over.
But I mean, normally I play the game to play the game, and hopefully to win. But even when I lose a game, the TF2 matches are so chaotic. Like pubs are so chaotic that like I don't really care about losing all that much.
Yeah.
Like in games that are far more structured and competitive, I'm like, damn, we lost that match. It did not. It doesn't always feel good. But TF2 just doesn't have that. Pubs are far more chaotic than any other game I've played in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can really explain that into a way, but I think it's funny to think about. But I should go to bed, but I need to sleep.
Yeah, you have a good one, man. It's good talking to you, though.
TF2 good.
Yeah, I really like this game. Also, Logan,
Bye.
good night. But yeah, no, like, I really do like this game a lot, and I feel like it's a very good representation of like a lot of things that we had talked about in class, kind of not being entirely true. And I mean, sure, there are things that are true that we talked about in class for like certain games. I mean, like,
Come here.
what are you doing? Are you doing it as well? but yeah, no, like what?
I made it to the box over here.
Huh?
Like, look, jump down for a second.
Ooh.
I jumped
Yeah.
from here.
But like one of the things that I really like about this game, and again, like I said, there are a lot of things within the class that we talked about that I could kind of get behind, if that makes sense. For example, one thing we talked about that is kind of yeah, is the original Tomb Raider character model that is just pyramid
Polygons.
on the center of the chest, but like way more pronounced than it should be.
Yeah. Okay, go. Okay, go.
But like I think the thing with TF2 is like a lot of the times that you like find any instance of anything, it's just like an oddball out of, you know, the bunch.
Was I didn't realize I was uncloaked.
Bro, this
Or
man just
this
walked
guy.
in, searched the entire room, and I uncloaked and cloaked again. There's gonna be a whole segment of this video of me just messing with an engineer. The thing that I really do like about like this game especially is it real. Oh my lord, this man's on a roll. Is that like in a lot of cases, when it comes to this game, you know, there's like a lot of I don't know, just
Just you.
hmm,
Just you.
where
We have taken the enemy intelligence.
I'm actually in a different area right now. I sapped a sentry. I just watched a Homer Simpson spy run past me.
Just you. Just you.
I'm still cloaked. I might uncloak in a second here, run over, sap the man's sentry. Oh man, he's going crazy. He's shooting at everybody who moves near him. He thinks the heavy's the spy.
Return to their base. Alert. The enemy has taken our intelligence.
Logan. Logan. Oh man, I'm gonna really screw with this dude. I'm really gonna screw with him. Is that you, Discot? No, that's a different guy on our team.
This guy's is Ruleman. Oh,
I'm just messing with him at this point. Oh, what the heck? How did he know exactly where I was?
Alert. The enemy has taken our intelligence.
Well, I was completely disguised and he turned around and shot me in the head, so... he must have been really good with his hearing. Yeah, no, but like to just end off this thing, because I mean this was not very, it was kind of just not really coherent, but you know, kind of just a jumble of us talking, if that makes any sense. Which, unironically, I think kind of fits with what, you know, because I mean, we talked about it in pretty good depth, more so than I could myself, if that makes any sense. I surely don't think that I could call upon just myself to, you know, cohesively formulate everything I had to say. And I certainly don't think that I could have done this in a paper format because, you know, I mean, we had, again, like I said earlier, I don't know if it was in the video or not, but like I said earlier, the paper, like the book that we're reading has not changed my opinion on anything, you know, at all, actually. It, kind of the opposite. Hang on one second. Yeah, no, it's because I mean it's one thing to write something in paper, you know, but it's another thing to like actually show it going on. I mean, sure, me messing with these engineers by uncloaking and cloaking again, is probably not the best thing to be showing whenever I'm talking about, a game that doesn't really have widespread, or I say widespread because, like, I've never seen it happen in this game. I've never seen, like, actual cyberbullying besides just, like, somebody calling someone else a bad name. There hasn't been,
Are
like,
you kidding me?
witch hunts or anything like that, with this game that I'm aware of at least. But, I mean, I'm sitting over here, all I'm doing is cloaking and uncloaking, you know? And, like, I'm sure that, you know, to this one guy, it's probably increasing his stress levels, but at the end of the day, regardless of if I sap his sentries or anything, he can build a new one, and if he kills me, I can just respawn. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't that deep.
We have dropped the enemy intelligence.
I'm on low health, but... Oh, he's right there. That was not good.
We have taken the enemy intelligence.
Wait, does he have the Australian pan?
Yeah, he does.
That's kind of cool, actually. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just like, I like games, I like making games, I like seeing how happy, games can make people. TF2's made a lot of people happy. Um, you know, just with charity. I mean, the Tipped Lid, for example, is a charity event that TF2 did.
And tip the hat.
Yeah.
About the hat.
Well, it's the hat's called the Tipped Lid, but yeah, it's
Oh.
with yeah, but yeah, no, you are correct. Uh, but yeah, like it's I don't know. I feel like demonizing video games is not really the best way to go about things because like you're not going to solve anything by doing that. Video games only suffer the same issues that like everything else suffers due to online, anonymity and all that stuff, right? With like, I mean, you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, you go anywhere else, and you can find toxicity running rampant. If you go to like a video game, I mean, you might find somebody being toxic, but on the whole, it's not like an entire server of people is going to witch hunt you and be mean towards you or anything. It's normally just a lot of people who want to have fun, and video games are kind of specifically designed for that, to just let you have fun. And I feel like, if people are going to demonize that, especially with like super minute things here and there, like, I mean, sure, I can understand being, upset that TF2 doesn't have like a female option if you wanted to play as a female character. But, I mean, that's not to say that the game is bad. The game's a really good game. It's just that customization option is not a very, prominent thing.
These 9 sets of, or this, 9 character cast, has been in the game since the very beginning.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed about the characters. They've not added. They haven't taken away. They haven't changed anything about the characters. This is the way it's been.
Yeah.
For 11, 12 years? 13 years?
I think it's been since 2007, so 13 now, yeah.
Yeah, 13 long years of just the same game.
Yeah, I mean...
Minor changes here and there and major updates here and there. But still, all the characters are the same, and that aspect and all like the roles that they do have always been the same.
Yeah, and like this game's community is like so strong that it's kept the game together for this long. And I feel like that is a true testament to it, because like if the game really was, all those things that, we've read about, like if it really was, you know, racist, sexist, homophobic, which I don't even think you can call that because it doesn't bring any of that up. You
Yeah.
know, it's not going to sit there and demonize somebody for being one way or another. It just doesn't bring it up. It doesn't take into effect. Doesn't
Okay,
notice
okay,
them.
okay. Yeah, I got
Oh shoot! I almost got kicked.
you. Yeah, I was just sending an AFK.
That's fair. I've been cloaking and uncloaking just to mess with this guy because he's going frantic. It's kind of funny, but like it's stayed like this for so long, and the community is like so well put together and well organized, and they don't like it when like people in the community don't like it when you're being rude or being mean to other people. You know, they usually stand against that, which I mean, that's good. You know, man, we've been talking about this game until 4 in the morning, but man, is that not the best time to be philosophical and play TF2?
That's the real hours.
Bro, for real. This game shines in like the hours where everybody is sleep deprived. Either that or like people in Europe are just now getting online. I think. I could be wrong about that time zone difference.
Who knows?
But yeah, no, it's just like it's a really good game. It subverts a lot of expectations, you know, from a lot of everything actually. It's, you know, it's not your standard first person shooter. It's a very stylized, it's a very artistic game. It's
It's
you know,
complicated without being complicated.
yeah, that's
There's
actually
a lot
like
that goes into the game. A lot of different mechanics, like how different weapons work together, and how there's a YouTube series of myth busting what items can do what exactly and what stuff like that. And you would never figure that out until you would accidentally find out about it. Which is
yeah.
what kind of makes the game fun for new, or not for new, but makes the game fun sometimes, is finding those niche small things about the game that really bring out the life about it. Like at Pier where we were playing, like there's a ton of references. Like there is a Newell and Sons. Newell is the
Yeah, Gabe Newell.
last name of Gabe Newell. Yeah, the main developer or the main head honcho of Valve. Like that's cool stuff like that.
Yeah. And it really is a nice game. It does have a lot of references to Strewn Without It, like with
Yes.
item stuff, with a bunch of other stuff. It's a really well made, solid game. And I mean, I feel like other games who've tried to, I don't want to say copy, but have kind of mimicked TF2 in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily every hero shooter, because a lot of them do drastically differ from TF2. But I mean, there was a lot of like flack that Overwatch got indirectly from people playing both games and, you know, liking one aspect of something over another. Like a lot of the flack that Overwatch got was not having customization, you know, for your characters. I mean,
And the only
yes,
customization was behind not a pay. It was technically a loot
yeah.
box system, but you could still get free loot boxes.
Yeah.
You could buy them, but that was about it.
And I mean, the thing that I like about TF2, because this is a nice little segue, because TF2 does have loot boxes, air quotes.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, it's got crates. I say air quotes. They're literally loot boxes. But the thing with them is, 9 times out of 10, the cosmetics that are in a loot box actively are going to make you easier to see.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna, if a whole team's running and everyone is stock, you're not gonna be like, okay, you've got, you know, this, that, the other, everyone kind of gets jumbled. But then when there's that one dude with like,
bright pink hat.
yeah, bright pink hat
like,
with fire
green
coming out of it,
jacket.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you notice that. And I like the fact that it gives people a way to express themselves, especially with the whole painting and weapon skins and all that other stuff that's been added relatively recently. But it does so in a much better way than some games like Overwatch. And again, I'm not saying Overwatch is a bad game by any means at all. It definitely has its moments, and so does TF2.
Yeah.
It's just like, there are elements that are in the two that make them fundamentally different, you know. And I really do like the customization in TF2, and I also, again, really like the subversion of expectations, with all the characters, because, I mean, the only one that's really kind of the ultimate stereotype is the scout, and it's just, what would you think a Boston person would say to you if he ran at you with a shotgun? You know, I mean, the soldier's from New Hampshire, but that doesn't really matter too much for him. We don't know anything about the pyro. The demo man is from Scotland and is the richest member of the team because he also works other jobs. The heavy is a genius. I say genius. He's smarter than a good chunk of the rest of the team. He's really strong and has a lot of money to him because he's got to fuel the minigun.
Yeah.
The engineer's got 8 PhDs. The medic is clinically insane, which is kind of ironic. The sniper is like exceptionally professional about everything he does, with the exception
Very
of
efficient too.
very efficient with the whole flipping the bullet into the thing and all that. But like, at the end of the day, he still throws jars of pee at people if he has to. And then the spy is the suave man from France. But like,
almost arrogant. But
yeah, but like also
very classy almost.
Yeah, he's very classy, and he's also very competent about what's going on. And all the videos that TF2's made for this stuff, all the videos that the community's made, it's great. I love this community. I'm so glad to be part of it.
Like the one in SFM that they released several years now. Geez, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. The one where Scout goes on a date with Miss Polly.
Oh, expiration date.
Yes, expiration date. It's as a 30-minute long source, like almost like movie that they made.
I think it's like 15, but it feels longer.
Oh yeah, 15. But it's just to promote an update for a game.
Yeah,
like they put so much into like the characters and the story and the writing.
Yeah, and like they keep doing that. Like every update video they've made is like super high quality. Like, I mean, sure, Jungle Inferno's update was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, it made Saxton Hale, a legitimate 3D model.
Yeah.
Which
they didn't really have. They had community-made models for it.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the community was wanting, like, for things like, the Versus Halo game modes and all that, like a legitimate model, and now they have one. And it's just crazy because I love how Valve will, especially with this game, will go and, make like a character, make a couple of cosmetics and stuff. And then they're basically just like, okay, community, what do you guys want? And then, you boot up the workshop, which I'm actually probably going to do right now because the workshop is nice, and I have completely forgotten how to access the workshop from within game.
You can't do it within game.
You can't within game?
Oh,
yes, you can. There's a workshop button.
It's shift tab.
Yeah. But, like, the workshop is nice.
A lot of the created content for the game that is just workshop related will 90% of the time be put into the game if it's very high rated like cosmetics. Like there was recently they had the fist bump. That was a community created taunt.
Yeah.
And now it's an official taunt in the game. A lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and they've been adding a lot of stuff like taunts that let you move, and just kind of just fun things to just mess around with the game, because the game is not all about combat, and they made very well sure of that. And I like that, because again, that harkens back to like bringing in a sense of community. Do you want to run out and just go all out with war? Or if you run out and you see somebody, dancing, are you going to leave them be? Are you going to join them? Are you going to fight them? It's a lot of stuff up in the air. you know. But I really do like this game, and I feel like there's a lot of criticism towards games, you know, positive and negative for a lot of stuff. I feel like games are moving in a more positive direction regardless.
Yeah.
There's a few that I feel are a little bit moving back or forward, but that's mostly because I feel like the developers were trying to push one specific thing and neglected other things, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Like, didn't think about, balance or something like that, and it causes the game to, shine in one area and not in the rest. And there are games with good message, that get drowned out based on game mechanics. And making a game is very difficult. It's something that's not easy to do, and it's something that isn't. I mean, okay, it can be enjoyable, but it's something that like you have to constantly put time and effort into to make it work. You're not. You have to find game balancing. You have to find lots of other stuff, and that's true for single player, multiplayer, PvP, PvE. It doesn't matter. You have to find a way to balance the game somehow. You know,
Mhm.
games like Doom Eternal, where you're supposed to have a power trip, you're not invincible. You still have to, use your brain. But, you know, it's very hard. You're supposed to be unbalancing. It's part of the game. Uh, but, like, TF2, I feel like does it really well. Because, I mean, yeah, there's a few things going on right now with it, like the bots. That's been a bit of an issue, but people typically have banded together and have decided to try and attack bots at all costs. Remove them from the game.
As soon as a bot enters a team, immediate vote kick gets
Yeah,
initiated and it's out of there within like seconds of it joining the game
yeah, because
because people
people,
are extremely tired of seeing it. Um, and so everyone has just band together to destroy the mods as or not the mods but destroy the bots as much as possible
yeah,
just to
because
preserve how just to preserve the game
yeah,
and its like impurity.
and that's another thing that I really like about the game because like there's a lot of people who we talked about toxicity and like World of Warcraft and stuff like that and all that other stuff. If someone's being toxic in the game, you can just vote kick them.
Hmm.
And it's not a thing where it's like you have absolute power and it's like, aha, I can kick anyone I want. But like if you vote kick them and other people agree with you, it's like, hey, bro, you're being toxic, and click the button, they get vote kicked.
Yeah.
It doesn't ban them, but it removes them from the lobby. Or you can mute people. You can do a lot of stuff. It's a very user friendly game, in my opinion. So yeah, I really do love this game. It's a good one. I'm very happy to see that it's made a good return. I mean, it never really died, but people were scared of it back in the day.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially when the steam not steam but the TF2 market crash during
yeah,
an update, which almost it still has kind of ruined trade the trading system and the trade like community. Like a lot of players have abandoned that side of the game, and
yeah,
it kind of sucks about it.
yeah. But I mean, like, it was an honest mistake at that point. It was something that Valve didn't really think about whenever they were implementing it, but they did go back and fix it, and that's what I like. Is that this game's been going
Yeah.
strong for 13 something years now. It might have even been 2012. I don't even remember. But like,
Yeah.
or not 13 years. Not 13 years. Maybe 13
But
years?
I'm gonna look it up.
2007? Was it 2007? I don't remember the date of this thing.
Uh, October 10th, 2007.
Okay, so yeah, 13 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been going strong, and I'm
Yeah.
it's
And there's also uh, sorry, go ahead.
you good.
Oh, I was saying there's also the creator.tf, which is a whole line of community-made servers that you can disconnect to because a lot of the Valve servers and a lot of the like lesser known and like not as popular public servers, most of those are ridden with bots. And so with the creator.tf servers, this is not an ad whatsoever. I go on there almost frequently just because a lot of their servers are just filled with very passionate community people that want to see this game live again.
Yeah.
Or it's not dead. They want to see it in a more what's the word? More lively state.
Yeah.
It's definitely slowly getting to the point to where at any given moment, Valve, not saying they will, Valve could pull the plug and then that'd be it for the game, just because there's not a lot of people playing it
Yeah.
as much as it used to be.
It's like the funny thing about this game is that like the currently, I say currently, but I mean it's kind of like this for the whole stretch of its life. The most toxic thing in this game is an AI.
Yes.
It's literally just a bot, like that goes around and wall hacks and no clips and does a bunch of other dumb stuff, and like that's one of the more toxic things in the game. Sure, you'll find a couple bad apples here and there who are just having a bad day, probably, or aren't in a very particularly pleasant mood. But like, at the end of the day, it's evening. And I know I say that jokingly, but like, it is. It's at the end of the day, it's just another person. Trash talking on VC. It's the same for Call of Duty. It's the same for if you're in a Facebook, forum. If you're on a Twitter post, it's there's always going to be someone talking smack. It's just a matter of how openly they are about it, and that's more a byproduct of the internet than of the game. You're not gonna be able to create a game that actively censors everything that everyone says to make it like the best environment. I mean, Overwatch tried that and it backfired.
Yeah, real hard.
Because they started censoring, a lot, and that became an issue. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like we said all that we could say about this game at this point.
Yeah, I think we're good to. I think we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah. And again, thanks for talking with me about it, and also thanks for playing the game.
Yeah.
Because it's always fun to play this game, in my opinion, man. Because you just get to screw around.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know how to end the video.
I don't really know either. I suppose I'll just say, TF2 is a good game. Definitely give it a try if you haven't already.
Free to play.
Free to play, which actually I think opens a lot of borders for it. It's a very, very well refined free to play game, and 100% recommend it. It's just a good game. It's good fun. Doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's one of the best benefits of it. So, if you want a good game, go out there and play TF2. I'm repping for you, Valve. You made a good one.